Good afternoon, everybody. I think we'll just give it another minute or so for folks to log in, out of respect for the fact that we know there are multiple meetings happening in the General Assembly today. All right, Representative Lamar, think we can get started? That okay with you, Representative Carney?
Yes.
Wonderful. All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to convene the meeting, today's meeting of the Transportation Committee. I just want to start by saying that this will be our final meeting before the committee's JF deadline. And although I came late to this committee this year, it's been a true pleasure working with all of you. I know that there's more work that lies ahead. We will certainly be meeting again as additional bills are sent our way, but I know that there's been a tremendous amount of work put in by both the staff and also the legislators who serve on this committee, and I'm grateful to be a very small part of it. Before we get started on bills for final action, I want to move to item number 2, which is remarks by the co-chair, Representative Lamar.
Thank you, Senator Haskell, and thank you everyone for a wonderful process over these last few months. I promise I'm not taking it personally that I've had 3 Senate co-chairs since I was announced, and I don't think it's because of me. I'm hoping it's not, but if it is, I apologize to Senator Haskell, who is apparently now stuck with me, drawing the short end of the stick. But thankfully, we've gotten through these last few months, and we have a number of issues that we've already passed out of committee. We have these last 8 bills that will conclude the work of the committee process to date. But as Senator Haskell alluded to, a number of bills do get referred to this committee after our JF deadline. So we will be seeing each other very soon. And as I mentioned in a prior meeting, this is not my idea of a great JF day. For me, you know, I like to take care of folks and get them a lot of pastries and food and make sure folks feel appreciated and loved. And sadly, given our current construct, I wasn't able to do that. So I'll have to doubly make up for it next year when we're back in the building and seeing each other. And I will be sure to get you all the pastries and other wonderful New Haven delights at that point in time. And I'll have a lot more to say about staff at the close of the meeting, Senator Haskell, and thank you for this time.
Thanks, Representative Lamar. Would the ranking member, Representative Carney, like to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I just want to echo everything that's been said. You know, this is a great committee. We certainly work very well together. It's been great, you know, working with Representative Lamar, you, Senator Haskell, Senator Cassano, Representative Sims, and Senator Summers. And I'm sure we'll continue that great working relationship as the legislative session moves along. I was going to say, you know, Representative Lamar, where are the cannolis? Where are those delicious Italian pastries that former Representative Guerrero would bring in? Maybe he could still bring them in. I don't know. But I look forward to sharing those with you next year if we're able to meet in person, which I hope we are. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Representative Carney. Is Senator Summers on? I want to give her an opportunity to speak, but I know she may be tied up in public health at the moment. And would the vice chairs like to say anything? I don't see Senator Cassano, but I think I did see Representative Sims on. All right, seeing no further comments, let's move to the exciting part, bills for final action, item number 3 on our agenda. We will start with item number 1. HB 6486, an act concerning automated driving system equipped vehicles. This is a JFS to the floor. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Moved by Representative Lamar, seconded by Representative Carney. For the purposes of discussion, I will just very briefly mention that this legislation updates and adds new definitions for the automated driving system related terms so that they can conform with engineering standards. It eliminates the existing autonomous vehicle testing pilot program, since that program never really got off the ground, and instead requires that the Department of Transportation collaborate with other agencies to establish a program for testing and operating automatic driving system equipped vehicles, and that they adopt program regulations. Happy to answer additional questions if there is, if we have them from members. I see that Representative Zawistowski has her hand raised. Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for you. Is there anything in this bill that would allow somebody to purchase a self-driving vehicle and operate it on our current roadways?
Thank you for the question. So it would establish regulations under which that could be contemplated and incorporate incorporate state and federal laws, as well as national best practices on testing. Really importantly, it would establish requirements for the operation of automated driving system equipped vehicles. The requirements, Representative, would be that a driver would have to be registered and carry at least $5 million of insurance. It would require that the owner and operator of the ADS equipped vehicle is responsible for ensuring compliant operation. And it would set, this legislation would set requirements for reporting if a vehicle is involved in the crash. I hope that that answers your question. It does sort of initiate the process, although there's much work to be done before we arrive at that moment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Follow up. So this is something that DOT could set requirements without coming back to the legislature?
This would initiate the process for the Department of Transportation to set those regulations, although we do stipulate that it would need to be in collaboration with other agencies. And of course, there is action here taking place within the new administration in Washington and the Federal Department of Transportation. I'm confident that DOT would work closely with our federal counterparts to make sure that Connecticut is adhering to best practices.
And thank you for that. And, this is a promising new technology. I'm just concerned about the safety of our residents and just wanted to make sure that we have adequate oversight as this progresses. I have some misgivings about it. I think I would feel more comfortable if the requirements that would be set by DOT could come back to the legislature. But I appreciate this coming forward. And again, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Zawistowski. I appreciate those comments and share your concern about the ongoing regulations that will be critically important in ensuring safety on our roads in Connecticut. I don't see any other questions or comments from committee members. So seeing no further discussion, I would ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Certainly. House Bill 6486, an act concerning automated driving system equipped vehicles. The action is a JFS to the floor on LCO number 6074. Senator Haskell.
Senator Haskell votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Lamar.
Representative Lamar votes yes.
Thank you. Senator Cassano. Representative Sims.
Representative Sims votes in the affirmative.
Excluded.
Representative Carney.
Because of their
Representative Carney votes yes.
Senator Summers. Senator Doherty Abrams. Senator Lopes.
Senator Lopes votes yes.
Senator Needleman. Senator Austin.
not create the need
Senator Austin votes in the affirmative.
as previously established, but it can be
Senator Kissel.
addressed them.
Senator Martin.
Senator Martin votes yes.
Representative Berger Giavalo.
Representative Berger Giavalo votes yes.
Representative Blumenthal.
Aye.
Representative Blumenthal. Representative Chafee. Representative Concepcion.
Representative Concepcion votes yes.
Representative Conley, Representative Conley, Representative Goupil,
Representative Goupil votes yes.
Representative McCarthy Vahey, Representative Meskers,
Representative Meskers votes yes.
Representative Michelle,
Representative Michelle votes in the affirmative.
Representative Morin-Bello,
Representative Morin-Bello votes yes.
Representative Reyes, Representative Rosario,
Representative Rosario votes yes.
Representative Smith,
Representative Smith votes yes.
Representative Steinberg, Representative Thomas,
Representative Thomas votes yes.
Representative Dauphiné, Representative Devlin,
Representative Devlin votes yes.
thank you very much. Representative Haynes,
Representative Haynes votes yes.
thank you. Representative Harrison,
Representative Harrison votes yes.
Representative Labriola,
Representative Labriola votes yes.
Representative Rabimbus, Representative O'Day,
Representative O'Day votes yes.
Representative Zawistowski,
Representative Zawistowski votes yes.
Representative Zupkus,
Representative Zupkus votes yes.
and I just saw Senator Summers. Are you,
Senator Summers votes yes.
thank you. And Senator Needleman,
And Representative Rabimbus, can I vote? Sorry.
yes, Representative Rabimbus,
Representative Rabimbus votes yes.
thank you.
Representative Conley, can I vote?
Yes, Representative Conley,
Representative Conley votes yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, for convenience, are votes being held open on agenda items?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Clerk. I was just about to go there. Out of respect for the busy schedules that legislators are facing on this Friday, we are going to hold votes open until 4 p.m. So if you do miss a vote today, you will have the opportunity to click on the same Zoom link and cast your vote until 4 p.m. We will move now to item number 2 on the agenda, and that is HB 6568, an act concerning peer-to-peer car sharing programs. This is a JFS to the floor. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Moved by Representative Lamar, seconded by Representative Sims. For the purposes of discussion, I'll briefly say that peer-to-peer car sharing programs may not be familiar to everybody. I wasn't wholly acquainted with them myself. They essentially operate as Airbnb for motor vehicles. It is already a practice that exists here in Connecticut. This seeks to ensure that drivers are protected when they do so by implementing national best practice insurance language, including primary liability, lapses in coverage, disclosures, driver's license verification, equipment regulations, and recalls. There are a variety of items contained in this legislation, I think most of which, or all of which, really conform to best practices that we're seeing in other states. I see that Senator Summers has her hand raised. Senator.
Yes, I just had a quick question on this. Is this peer-to-peer legislation trying to make it, number one, safer for consumers, because there's been problems in the past when you may rent a car that breaks down, and or also create a more level playing field between the rental car agencies and this peer-to-peer way to rent a car? Could you speak to that?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Senator. I would answer yes on both counts. The peer-to-peer car sharing services right now in Connecticut that are operating are doing so sort of outside of a regulatory or insurance framework. And this seeks to impose greater safety and like you said, an even playing field for those who decide to participate in this service. So, for example, it defines what peer-to-peer car sharing is in our statutes. It requires peer-to-peer car sharing programs to assume during the sharing period a vehicle owner's liability, both for bodily injury or property damage to third parties, but also for uninsured and underinsured motorists or personal injury protection losses. That's contained in Section 2 of the bill. I think almost every section that we could go through, up through section number 13, we would see protections in place for consumers in this legislation.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that was clear for the record. Thank you for that.
Thanks so much, Senator. Representative Rosario.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
We can. Good afternoon.
All right, good afternoon. I have a quick question. Have the peer-to-peer companies agreed to this language that is before us?
Well, thanks so much for your question, Representative. There has, I would say, been agreement on the vast majority of the bill. There has existed, I think, some pushback to whether or not peer-to-peer companies ought to be allowed to operate at Bradley Airport. This legislation would prohibit those companies from operating at Bradley until the company enters into an agreement with the Connecticut Airport Authority. The Connecticut Airport Authority, under this bill, Section 13, would be allowed to charge reasonable fees to such companies that decide to operate at the airport. This is consistent with 7 other states thanks to OLR looking into similar legislation elsewhere. We believe it is fair both to the companies and to the airport authority. I do want to disclose, though, that there isn't necessarily full agreement on that language.
All right, well, I look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Representative. Looking forward to continuing that conversation as well. I don't see any other hands raised. Is there a motion to create a consent? Yes, Representative Carney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Yes, I make a motion that we create a consent calendar.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Representative Carney, seconded by Representative Lamar to create a consent calendar. At this point, is there any legislation that ought to be added to such consent calendar?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I would make a motion that we move HB 6568 to the consent calendar.
Thank you, Representative Carney. Is there I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk, do we need a second to a motion to add a bill to a consent calendar?
I think that might be a question best served by the LCO.
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay, I apologize. Is there a second to Representative Carney's motion?
Second.
Seconded by Representative Michelle. Are there any objections to adding HB 6568 to the newly created consent calendar? Seeing none, it is so ordered. We will move on to item number 3 on our agenda, an act concerning motor vehicle registration. I want to thank the representatives from the Waterbury delegation, as well as many others who have come to the committee to talk about the very real problem of, I'm sorry, before we get into discussion, is there a motion to JFS HB 6568, an act concerning motor vehicle registrations, to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Representative O'Day, seconded by Representative Carney. For the purposes of discussion, I'll just pick up where I left off. I wanted to thank members of the Waterbury delegation, as well as members of the law enforcement community and others on this committee who have spoken to the committee leadership on both sides of the aisle about the very vexing problem of motor vehicle registrations in the state of Connecticut. This would empower municipalities to adopt ordinances that impose fines for failing to register a vehicle, of course, that is subject to a property tax and required and eligible to be registered by law. It would also, we think, strengthen the task force that is working towards greater compliance with our registration laws. We know that this is a problem, particularly in communities that see a higher mill rate. I see that Representative O'Day has his hand raised. Yes, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make a note. I forgot when we originally discussed this to mention an idea that we may be able to add to this, a process or a policy whereby condominium associations or any type of residents cannot grant parking permits to vehicles that are registered out of state. I don't know if that's feasible, but that's something I wanted to bring up before. Because that's a way we can maybe potentially catch some people that are trying to avoid it. And I just forgot to mention that during the hearing. Maybe it's something we can discuss going forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'd like to continue that discussion, Representative O'Day, and I think that this should not be our last conversation about motor vehicle registration and car taxes. I think that it's a deeply problematic tax, even if enforcement were 100%. So let's keep talking about it. I don't see any other hands raised at the moment. So is there a motion to, yes, Representative Carney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I would make a motion that we add HB 6569 to the consent calendar.
Thank you, Representative. Motion made by Representative Carney, seconded by Representative Sims. Are there objections to adding this item to our consent calendar? Seeing none, it is so ordered. We will move on now to item number 4, HB number 6570, an act concerning transit-oriented development and municipal zoning. This is a JFS to the floor. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Representative Lamar. Is there a second?
Second, Smith.
Seconded by Representative Smith. Thank you. I see that Representative O'Day has his hand raised, but very briefly for the purposes of discussion, I did want to mention that this legislation has been substantially amended since we considered this bill during our public hearing. It would effectively do two things. It would require the Department of Transportation, in consultation with the Department of Housing, to identify 5 passenger rail or rapid bus transit stations with a state-owned parking lot, and 5 state-owned parcels of land that are within a half-mile radius of a passenger rail or bus rapid transit location. And they would then, the department would issue a request for information for transit-oriented development on lots and parcels, provided that at least 20% of the development is dedicated to affordable housing. The second section of this bill would require municipalities in the affordable housing plans that they're currently in the process of creating, set forth under statute 8-30J, to identify parcels of land in that community that are state-owned currently, that are located near a transit center, and that might be suitable for transit-oriented development. I do want to emphasize that this bill would be voluntary in nature, but it seeks to better use our state assets and make sure that our transit stations are available to all, particularly those who perhaps can't afford a single-family home on a 4-acre lot. We know that creating greater density near our train stations is crucial to increasing ridership on public transit. And I want to thank Representative Lamar for all of his work on this legislation. I see that Representative O'Day has his hand raised. Yes, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I do want to thank both chairs for taking input from our hearing and making modifications. And just reading lines 3 through 14, and the good chair said that it's voluntary. So if a town didn't want to be involved in the study that's addressed in those lines, I don't see where it's voluntary for the town. Can the good chair or someone let me know how the towns could potentially opt out of that study?
I was on mute. I apologize. I'd be happy to speak to that, Representative O'Day. I just want to clarify, are you speaking about section 1 where the Department of Transportation identifies parcels, or section 2 where the town identifies parcels of land?
I'm sorry, section 1 where the Commissioner of Transportation identifying 5 passenger rail stations.
Right. Thank you for the question, Representative. I guess what I mean to say in that it's voluntary is that all that this bill would initiate is a process whereby the Department of Transportation would issue a request for information. In other words, this doesn't give the state unilateral authority to move forward so much as it just initiates a process whereby the state can start making suggestions as to which land might be suitable for transit-oriented development. Obviously, we want to retain parking near our train stations, but we also know that increase in opportunities for seniors, for students, for those who perhaps can't afford currently to live near train stations is crucial as we invest tens of millions of dollars, hopefully hundreds of millions of dollars in investing our rail lines. So again, it's not so much that the town can opt out altogether, but more that this doesn't give any state entity unilateral authority to move forward, but rather initiates a process where they could put out 5 requests for information. I hope that answers the question.
That does. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I do truly appreciate it. I just am concerned that the towns won't be consulted in whether or not they want to go forward with that. But I understand that the intent. But if there's more of a collaborative process with the municipalities, I could vote for it. But at this point in time, I'm just going to vote no. But I will talk to the good chairs on how maybe we can come together on it. And again, I'm very willing to work with the chairs, because obviously the chairs have done a lot of work on this, and so I want to help move this going forward. But I'm going to vote no at this point in time. But thank you very much. And again, thank you to the chair, Representative Lamar, for your efforts.
Understood. Thank you, Representative O'Day, and looking forward to continuing that conversation with you. Representative Devlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the discussion that you just had with Representative O'Day, because that did strike me as well when you introduced this bill to us today. You did speak to it being voluntary. And I think that having collaboration with the communities is really important. And without so, I find this pretty problematic. I am encouraged that you, and I'm sure our good House Chair, would be willing to work on this going forward and perhaps consider that. But one question I do have for you in identifying the 5 locations. Let me just get back to the beginning language of this bill. So if a transit parking lot is currently used for commuters, I know many stations have year-long waits to be able to get parking permits. And what this indicates is that while it will retain the number of parking spaces, should there be a project that, we'll come to that one in a minute, but it isn't increasing. So is it just assumed then, are we going to lose commuter parking? And some of this would be designated for people that perhaps would like to live in a transit-oriented development for, the hubbub of being near a more urban part of a community, but don't necessarily rely daily on that particular form of transportation. So they would need an automobile. And it'd be ideal that, we didn't need cars anymore, but I don't think we're there yet. Any comments about that?
Sure. Thanks, Representative Devlin, for the question. The best I can do is point to line number 7, which I know you saw earlier. It ensures that any transit-oriented development would retain the same, I'll read directly, provided that the same number of parking spaces will be maintained. I can't speak, and I guess it would sort of depend on the individual development, whether or not that parking would be used for those who live there or those who are commuters. It doesn't speak to any requirement to increase the amount of parking that's available. It also explicitly prohibits any decrease in the amount of parking that's available. So without looking into without knowing the specifics of what projects and what proposals might be suggested under Section 1 of this legislation, it would be challenging to speak to how parking would be impacted, other than to say, or rather who would use that parking, other than to say that parking could not be decreased.
I see. So we would likely be losing parking in one way or another, because you're either going to use it for commuting, right? Or if you're going to have housing and commercial businesses or whatever might be included in a transit-oriented development, it will be done so without any consideration for added parking.
Yeah, I would just respond, Representative Devlin, that I don't serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I'm hardly an expert in this area. It would seem to me that the most appealing opportunities for development might include opportunities to expand parking availability for those who live there, because as you said, many in our suburbs, at least the ones that you and I represent, continue to rely on cars, even if they use the train to commute. So perhaps in some cases, there may be an expansion of parking, and I would imagine that as the state and town engage in this collaborative process, there may be those proposals and those potential developments may be considered the most appealing.
Okay, great. I love the word collaborative process. I'd love to see that in here. When you mention a request for information, can you define, like, what does that mean? To what level of detail? And how would that work? Who would the DOT go to for these requests for information?
Well, thank you for the question, Representative Devlin. My understanding is that the first step in a request for information would be to collaborate with the municipal authorities. But I know that Representative Lamar has worked extensively on this bill, and I do want to give him an opportunity to perhaps answer your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Devlin, for the question. You know, I frankly, some of these conversations get kind of heated, but you and I have worked together for a while now, and you know that even after they get heated, I still listen. I realize sometimes I may be going a little too far. And some of the issues that you brought up made me stop and think about how we really wanted to have this conversation with our local communities about the types of opportunities we have in our state. You're right, you brought it up numerous times. This isn't a planning and development conversation. This is a transportation conversation. And what are we focused on here in transportation? And it's how to utilize best these multi-billion-dollar assets. And like I heard in your comments and Representative O'Day's comments during that hearing, you know, there is a way to do this, and maybe the bill isn't really where we want it to be for this conversation. And so a request for information to me is our DOT, our Department of Housing, looking at the very specific locations. Christopher Edge from the town of Berlin came and testified against the bill because he was worried about the local zoning parameters, but he highlighted that his town would love for the DOT to do a better job on their parking lots, that their town had actually done great work on their lots, that they were under municipal control, but that the DOT's lots were the ones that are underutilized. I'd heard from folks in Westport about a large DOT parcel, maybe up to 10 acres near a train station that's being horribly underutilized. And so to me, this was that opportunity to get that information, get our DOT to recognize that there is interest in so many of these parcels. And we don't, you know, maybe the first step in this committee shouldn't be rezoning all of that area, as you so gladly highlighted, but instead focusing on what's already under our control. And so my vision of what this request for information, the conversations I've had with folks in the transportation and housing agencies, is that they would work collaboratively with communities to identify those locations, put them out for a request for information, working with known developers in and around transit locations, and just have some information at our disposal so that we know what the opportunities are. Instead of the town of Westport having to point fingers at the DOT for not developing land, or the the economic development folks in Berlin pointing their fingers at DOT, or me and my chairmanship pointing my fingers back at the towns, we'll instead have real information that we developed collaboratively, and we know what our opportunities are, and we know what we need to do to move forward. And that's really where I felt the conversation was in a good place after that hearing. Even though overwhelmingly people came to testify against it, I felt like there was a good place in that conversation to move, and this bill attempts to get us there. And I hope that answers your question and gives you a sense of where I'm heading on this issue.
So, you know, you talked about collaboration with the municipalities, but that isn't defined here. And I think collaboration is also something important that we also, to some extent, define, right? That the community will have an input as to whether or not they would be interested. So collaboration isn't just town X, we're going to go ahead and do this, and we've informed you, so now we've collaborated. It really should be giving all parties input. And some communities may also see opportunities that they would be thrilled for DOT to get involved with. But with that said, is the any costs, so there, you know, maybe studies, whatever might need to be done, I don't know, but would any costs and would revenues such as property tax revenues, would that be going to the state or the local community?
Thank you. I think that's,
oh, I'm sorry.
I am sorry, Senator Haskell. I apologize.
No worries. I was just going to say, Representative Lamar, over to you.
Yes, Representative Devlin, I think that's part of what the request for information is. We don't want to authorize DOT to move forward. Nowhere in this bill are we saying that DOT can unilaterally move forward on any of these projects. And so the request for information largely is to understand what the market dynamics are on these locations. And I think that is the negotiation I want to see happen between towns and the DOT. Towns, I believe, should be eligible to collect all of the property tax that comes from the development on these locations. It is the one real reliable tool that we have communities have to pay for all the expenses associated with development. And I feel like it's imperative that if the Department of Transportation or us, the state legislature, help move these issues forward, we do so with communities being able to benefit from the property tax revenues associated with that development. I would hate for us to go, some states have transit authorities in which the transit authority would collect all of the property tax revenue associated with the development on their land. I do not envision that at all. I don't think that's the right approach for Connecticut and how we deal with it. It should not be a transit authority's revenue that comes from it. Local municipalities have been burdened with providing most of the services to our residents, and so municipalities should be collecting those property tax revenues.
So in addition, how would DOT actually undertake this? And the reason I ask is that, we've discussed and voted on the DOT creating a new department just to look for opportunities to partner with the federal government for, funding for our infrastructure. So they don't have that required a separate organization to be established. How do they have the resources to be able to implement a project that really involves commercial development, which would tend to be more aligned with the Planning and Development Committee or the Housing Committee?
Representative Lamar.
Yes, thank you, Senator Haskell, and I thank you, Representative Devlin. I think that is the purpose of just the request for information at this point. We're not putting out requests for proposals. We're not putting out requests for development specs. Like, we want information, like what are the sites and what are the potential economics associated with it. That way, that would come back to the Department of Transportation. They would provide that information to us, and we can determine, hey, we want to move forward, and DOT can say we need greater resources to do so. And that's all conversation we can have at later points once this information comes back to us. Again, we are very purposeful in not providing DOT authority to just move ahead unilaterally here. But I did think it was important for us to understand the opportunities that exist in communities. And that's where we're mostly trying to direct this thinking, and this legislation is towards identifying the opportunities that we have so that we can make informed decisions about what we do and the next steps forward, rather than maybe, like allowing fingers to be pointed back and forth between municipal officials and state officials over whose responsibility is to do this. And so the long answer, I suppose, Representative Devlin, instead of the short one, is I think that the opportunity to make that investment on DOT's part will be part of the information that we receive back. How in depth does this need to be? How many attorneys need to be associated with negotiating a deal of this magnitude? I think those are very important conversations that we can get after we get the information back from potential developers.
So,
Representative Devlin.
thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate your long and short answer, Mr. Chair. It's okay. But what this section 1 is saying is that on or before October 1st, so how many months is that going to be away from, June, July, August, 4 months, the department will have identified locations and issued requests for information. I'm going to imagine that a request for information is a pretty detailed document, and that would likely be customized based on any of the locations, unless they were, uniform pieces of property that they might be issuing one, including all. So is that the intent, that within 4 months they will have identified these properties, issued a request for information on top of everything else that we've charged them to do?
Representative Lamar.
Thank you. Frankly, yeah, that is the intent here, is to have DOT move quickly in identifying potential locations. I don't think it's that difficult to issue a request for information. Largely, we spell out the parameters here, and it might just be the case that there is no interest. Some of my conversations with the Department of Transportation worried that maybe they wouldn't get much interest at this time because of the pandemic and because of hesitancy of some developers to invest large amounts of money at this point, not knowing what true market trends would be. And I thought that was important to know too, that maybe all this conversation that we've been having isn't backed by market economics, but moving forward in the 4 months, just for a simple request for information didn't take too much time or effort. And I thought it was relatively easy to accommodate within the 4-month window.
Representative Devlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sure they'll hang on to those words. Easy to do. In section 2, just a couple of clarifying questions, if I may. And the gist of this that I want to make sure of, right, because our towns do submit affordable housing plans. There are plannings of conservation and development that are done, and I don't think that it's unreasonable to include the DOT properties. I think in some instances they probably already do. I don't know to what extent they would be able to legitimately identify any potential issues with those properties, without doing some work, or at least a cursory look. But is this in line with what the towns are currently doing, and from a timing perspective, so that we're not being redundant in what we're asking our communities to do, nor are we putting something else on or changing an existing process outside including the DOT properties? Could you speak to that, please, and clarify?
Representative Lamar, before I hand it over to you, I do just want to say very briefly on this section of the bill, I want to thank planning and zoning chairs in my district who have actually suggested this language, because I think, to your question, Representative Devlin, it is in line with both the timing and the mission of those 830J plans, many of which they're hiring consultants, or they're currently conducting the working groups, soliciting community feedback. And they view this as very much in line with that mission, and not duplicative, but rather, a meaningful addition to how they can expand affordability in the community. So I just want to give a quick shout out to the planning and zoning chair in Westport who helped with the development of this proposal. Representative Lamar, over to you.
Thank you. And Senator Haskell, I think, accomplished it. The answer is yes. That's exactly right. We're not trying to be duplicative or add additional work. I thought of this as a good way for us to get to that issue concretely that Mr. Edge raised about the town of Berlin being able to say to DOT, to say to the legislature, hey, put your money where your mouth is. Like, this is an opportunity that you're allowing to pass by. You're not holding up your end of the bargain here. This location very specifically is the perfect site. Now can you get out of our way and make it happen? So to me, I thought this was a positive way to take advantage of an opportunity that towns are going through right now, and point the finger back at us to say, here, take a look at your own sites.
Okay. And however, before that happens, the DOT would be identifying on their own locations to have requests for information be issued. I'm pleased to hear about section 2, so thank you for that. And related to section 1, if this was more explicit, I mean, much along the lines of what Repo Day mentioned, for that collaborative, equal voice process with our local municipalities, I would likely support this bill. But I am going to be voting no. I would be happy to, see this evolve, and if it moves forward, be in a place where I could support it, but I'll be voting no today. Thank you. I appreciate your answers.
Thank you, Representative Devlin, and thank you, Representative Lamar. I see that Representative Smith has his hand raised.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to add a couple of comments with respect to the discussion we had with respect to requests for information. For the final 15 years or so of my career, I managed marketing departments in what's commonly known as big law firms of 250 to 650 lawyers. And in that capacity, responded to numerous requests for proposals, requests for information, and typically a request for proposal is very specific about what is required and what the requester is looking for, whereas a request for information generally is much more broad, where they typically will just identify in a very large way the types of of ideas or work that they are looking to get filled. And they are asking generally the responders to say within those general parameters, what are the types of ideas you have in which we might accomplish these goals or provide these services? And it's usually very broad and not specific. And what it may lead to down the road is a narrowing of the field. The requester gets a better handle on where they might have opportunities to take advantage of certain types of benefits that might accrue to the firm. In our case, in the case of the law firm or the requesting firm, you know, where we might get better pricing because of volume or because of the similarity of the type of casework. So I think in this case, what we're really looking at, I think, is a request for brainstorming ideas. And in that concept, I think that although there may be 5 different locations, the overall general scope of what the goals are to be sought in that RFI would be very, very similar. And then people that look at specific sites might then hone in on what is unique about that site and focus on these are areas where one developer might have strengths and another one doesn't, and they may come forward with those ideas so that down the road, more specific plans could be developed and collaboratively a firm request for proposal that would fit within those parameters could be sent out. So I definitely see Section 1 as being a sort of a broad survey of what the market opportunities are for those various sites, whatever they may be, which would later on lead to specific proposals. I just thought I'd chip that in because that was my experience in the law firms that I worked for. Whenever we did an RFP, they were always very general and they led to more specific proposals down the road. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for that.
Thanks so much, Representative Smith. I think that's incredibly helpful context and as committee members decide how to cast their votes. So we really appreciate your insights there. I see no other hands raised at this time. So Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll on House Bill number 6570?
House Bill number 6570, an act concerning transit-oriented development and municipal zoning. The action is a JFS to the floor on LCO number 5765. Senator Haskell.
Senator Haskell votes yes.
Representative Lamar.
Representative Lamar votes yes.
Senator Casano. Representative Sims.
Representative Sims votes in the affirmative.
Representative Carney.
Representative Carney votes no.
Senator Summers. Senator Doherty Abrams. Senator Lopes.
Senator Lopes votes yes.
Senator Needleman. Senator Austin.
Senator Austin votes in the affirmative.
Senator Kissel. Senator Martin.
Senator Martin votes no.
Representative Berger Javallo.
Representative Berger Javallo votes yes.
Representative Blumenthal. Representative Chafee. Representative Concepcion.
Representative Concepcion votes yes.
Representative Conley.
Representative Conley votes yes.
Representative Goupil.
Representative Goupil votes yes.
Representative McCarthy Vahey. Representative Meskers.
Representative Meskers votes no.
Representative Michelle.
Representative Michelle votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Morin-Bello.
Representative Morin-Bello votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Reyes.
Representative Reyes votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. Representative Rosario. Representative Smith.
Representative Smith votes yes.
Representative Steinberg. Representative Thomas.
Rep. Thomas votes yes.
Representative Dauphiné. Representative Devlin.
Representative Devlin votes no.
Thank you. Representative Haynes. Representative Harrison.
Representative Harrison vote.
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh,
Bill,
Representative Haynes.
you get
you
my-
wanna go?
Yep, Representative Haynes votes no.
Thank you. Representative Harrison.
Representative Harrison votes no.
Thank you. Representative Labriola.
Representative Labriola votes no.
Thank you. Representative O'Day.
Representative O'Day votes no.
Thank you. Representative Rabimbus.
Representative votes no.
Representative, could you try that one more time?
Sure. Representative Rabimbus votes no.
Thank you. Representative Zawistowski. Representative Zupkis.
Representative Zupkis votes no.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, with that, I've called through the roll, and again, vote is held open until 4 o'clock.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Yes, as a reminder, if you did miss your vote, votes are open until 4. We will move on now to, let's see. I should not have looked away from the agenda. We will move on now to item number 5, HB number 5423, an act concerning the expansion of passenger train and ground transportation services in Eastern Connecticut. This is a JF to the floor. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Representative Sims, seconded by
distinguished
Senator
members-
Austin. Very briefly, for the purposes of discussion, I will tell members that this bill has been worked on extensively by our colleagues who represent Eastern Connecticut on this committee, and I can run through, if committee members would like, the provisions of this bill. Specifically, it would require the Department of Transportation to conduct a feasibility study and operational plan to extend the Shoreline East Rail Line to Rhode Island, to establish a Norwich branch line, to consider using electric rail cars on branch lines, to extend ground transportation systems in Eastern Connecticut to provide interconnection between such systems, and to establish new passenger train stations in Groton and Stonington Borough. I don't see any hands up at the moment. I'm sorry, Representative Meskers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's kind of odd, the representative from Greenwich speaking about issues about choo-choo trains north of Fairfield County. Bottom line is economic development for the state is a sine qua non. We need to move the state forward. We need to move the economic development of the state. It encourages further development, housing, industrial, commuters. It's a win-win for the state. So I'm proud to lend my support. I even sat in, I think people were wondering why I was sitting in on a meeting with the Danbury delegation on this issue. I support them in their efforts to develop rail. I think it's key to the future of the state. It fits with, I think it's a bipartisan issue on economic development and on our carbon footprint. So I'm proud to be able to support the bill, and thank you for all of your efforts.
Thanks so much, Representative Meskers. Representative Carney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say I am 100% in support of this bill. I want to thank my colleagues from Eastern Connecticut for introducing this. Especially the part about extending Shoreline East to Rhode Island has been something that has been discussed quite a lot over the last several years, and I think it actually would improve the viability of Shoreline East and would connect us to Rhode Island and actually potentially to Massachusetts in a less expensive way and a better way than the current way to get to Massachusetts via rail from Connecticut, which is pretty much Amtrak, which is expensive for the average person. So with that, I'm 100% behind this, and I would make a motion that we add this item, HB 5423, to the consent calendar.
Thanks so much, Representative Carney. Is there a second to that motion?
Second, Representative Smith.
A second from Representative Smith. Are there any objections? Seeing none, let's see, HB number 5423 will be added to the consent calendar. We'll move now to item 6, SB 241, And I would like to ask for a motion to JF this with a change of reference to the Appropriations Committee. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Senator Austin,
Second.
seconded by Representative Sims. I apologize, Representative. I didn't see you at first. This legislation would establish quarterly reporting requirements for the Connecticut Port Authority. It would subject the Connecticut Port Authority to the State Contract and Standards Board oversight. It would establish an annual bonding authorization for small ports in the amount of $5 million a year for 5 years. It would also require that the Department of Administrative Services and the Office of Policy and Management annually report to this committee on the Connecticut Port Authority's projects and financing in the preceding year. Are there questions or comments on this proposal? All right, seeing none, I would ask.
I would make a motion that we add this to the consent calendar.
A motion has been made by Senator Austin to add this to the consent calendar. Is there a second?
Second, Representative Smith.
A second from Representative Smith. Are there any objections from members to adding item number 6 on our agenda to the consent calendar? Seeing none, it is so ordered. We will move now to item number 7 on our agenda, SB 866. This is a JF, let's see, this is a straight JF to the floor, an act concerning the Connecticut Port Authority. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Senator Austin, seconded by Representative Sims. Once again, this legislation would require the Connecticut Port Authority to submit annual reports, including a summary of all its activities and recommendations for legislation to promote the goals and the purpose of the Connecticut Port Authority. Representative Carney.
I thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. With this bill, I would make a motion to add SB 866 to the consent calendar.
Is there a second to Representative Carney's motion?
Second.
Seconded by Senator Austin. Are there objections to adding SB 866, an act concerning the Connecticut Port Authority, to our consent calendar? Seeing none, this item will be moved to the consent calendar. The last item on our agenda is item number 8, Senate Bill 605, an act concerning the Connecticut Port Authority. This is not Groundhog Day. You're not going crazy. There are a few bills related to the Port Authority. We hope in the weeks ahead that the committee will continue to work in a bipartisan manner towards a single vehicle to impose greater regulation and oversight of the Port Authority. Now, this legislation is slightly different in that it would establish board qualifications, specifically 2 of the governor's 4 appointments to the Connecticut Port Authority Board. One would need to represent a port either in New Haven, New London, or Bridgeport, and the other would need to represent a port located in some town besides those big 3. It would also shift the Connecticut Pilot Commission from being an entity within the Connecticut Port Authority to instead being something within the Department of Transportation. That would be for administrative purposes only. It would require that the Connecticut Port Authority enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Transportation that provides the DOT employees assigned to the Connecticut Port Authority actually be paid from the Department of Transportation's budget. And finally, it would require that the Connecticut Port Authority develop a plan for the transparent and equitable distributions under the SHIP program. That's the Small Harbor Improvements Projects program. I see Representative Meskers has his hand raised. Yes.
I believe Representative Carney was ahead of me.
I had a sense that Representative Carney might be making a motion for a consent calendar, but Representative Carney, did you want to? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Then go right ahead, Representative Carney.
Okay, I want to make sure I'm doing this right. I would like to propose an amendment to the bill.
Thanks, Representative. Will this be an oral amendment or is there text that's been distributed to the committee?
This will be an oral amendment.
Oral amendment. Okay, the floor is yours, Representative.
Okay, I just wanted to make a motion to strip section 3 from the bill regarding that the Port Authority enter into a memorandum of understanding with DOT that provides that DOT employees assigned to the Port Authority must be paid from DOT's budget. Through you, Mr. Chair.
I second that amendment.
The motion's been made by Representative Carney and seconded by Representative Lamar. Is there discussion on the amendment before us? To be clear, this is an amendment that would strike.
An act concerning the transfer and renovation of the Excel Center.
Senator Austin. Oh, there we go. This would be striking section 3 of SB 605. Senator Austin, did you want to speak on the amendment?
I just want to make clear that this is Representative Carney's bill himself. Would that not be true?
Is it drain on the resources?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't, because we have so many different bills. This is Representative Carney asking to make an amendment on his own bill. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Understood. Thank you, Senator Austin, for that clarification. And for those who might have been watching from home, Representative Carney nodded in the affirmative that this is an amendment on his legislation. I see that Representative Meskers, did you want to speak on the amendment or the underlying bill?
No, Mr. Chair, I will wait for the amendments to be resolved, and then I'd like to speak on the underlying bill.
Understood. Thank you, Representative. Senator Summers.
Yes, I just wanted to explain why this amendment is being made. This amendment is being made because the DOT and the Port Authority have worked out an arrangement concerning this specific issue. So I just wanted everyone to know why it was taken out. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Summers. I appreciate that perspective. Seeing no other questions or comments from committee members, Mr. Clerk, actually, I'm sorry, Representative Carney, do you have a preference as to whether or not this amendment is voted on by roll or by voice vote?
Excuse me, Senator?
Yes, I'm sorry, Ms. Stratton, Attorney Stratton.
I'm not sure that we actually made a motion to JF SB 605, that we went straight to the motion to amend it.
I apologize. Sorry, everybody.
Can we withdraw the motion to amend it, make the first original motion, and then amend it?
Representative Carney.
I withdraw my motion to amend SB 605.
Thank you,
Chairman
Representative.
Haskell, I withdraw my second of that motion.
Thank you, Representative Lamar. At this point, I would ask the committee whether or not there is a motion to JF SB 605 to the floor.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved by Representative Michelle, seconded by Representative Meskers. Representative Carney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I would make a motion to amend SB 605.
Thank you, Representative. This is an oral amendment to strike Section 3 as previously discussed. Is there a second to Representative Carney's motion?
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
Seconded by Representative Lamar. It really is Groundhog Day in the Transportation Committee. I apologize for getting ahead of myself, everybody. Finally, I would ask Representative Carney whether he would like, or I'm sorry, Attorney Stratton, would you, is it acceptable that we have a voice vote on the amendment?
Yes.
All right, is that acceptable to you, Representative Carney?
Yes. Do I need to describe what I think I need to describe what my amendment is.
Attorney Stratton, is that necessary for the purposes of discussion?
I think Senator Haskell did.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Striking Section 3, you're good.
Yes, this
Sorry,
would strike
thank you.
section 3 of the legislation, an oral amendment. All right, unless there are any objections to voting by voice vote, I would ask members to unmute themselves and to go on camera so that they can be counted for the purposes of attendance. All those in favor of the amendment, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All those opposed?
Have a residence bill of rights strengthened.
It is the opinion of the chair that the amendment passes. Now, Representative Meskers, I understand you had a comment on the underlying legislation.
Yes, if it begs the committee, one, lest they think I'm geographically challenged in my prior comments on Eastern Connecticut and Danbury, I understood the two concepts are significantly different. But in terms of the economic development, it's the same commentary. So I just wanted to reflect that in the prior comments. In relation to this bill, I just charge all of us on, there are three different bills related to the Port Authority. I think I've testified in the past. I want conceptually that we lean in on the issue of there is the management of the Port Authority, there is the price tag of the project. And I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that subsequent to those agreements, if we go with all the gusto for the size project they're considering, I want to make sure we're comfortable with the lease terms and leaseholds and the potential for repurposing going forward. We are going to create, if we agree to move forward, we're going to create a magnificent asset. And I do not want to give that exclusive use of the asset for an indeterminate period. or with an option without a right for refusal, or to be able to put it out for bid at some point in time. I want the wind power, I want the pier. I trust the group as a whole to decide on the size and pricing of the pier. And then I want this group or a subsequent group to make sure that it's not locked in perpetuity to one interest group, to make sure that this state asset is appropriately utilized. So that's my only strong commentary. Nothing against the amendment. I fully will vote in support. I think we're doing the right thing. I just want to make sure that those interests are well represented, whatever the nature of the three bills going forward.
Thank you, Representative Meskers, for those comments. I agree the legislature will continue to play a critical oversight role in this development of one of our most important economic assets, which is our large and small piers. Senator Austin.
I don't see any other comments, but if there are no other comments, Mr. Chair, I would suggest moving this item to the consent calendar as amended.
Thank you, Senator. Is there a second to Senator Austin's motion to move this bill to the consent calendar?
Second.
Second.
Second by Representative Sims. Are there any objections? Seeing none, SB 605 as amended will be added to the consent calendar. At this point, Mr. Clerk, I would like to ask that you call the roll on the consent calendar today.
Okay, consent calendar containing House Bill 6568, an act concerning peer-to-peer car sharing programs, JFS to the floor with LCO 6084. House Bill 6569, an act concerning motor vehicle registration, JFS to the floor with LCO number 6067. House Bill number 5423, an act concerning the expansion of passenger train and ground transportation services in Eastern Connecticut. The action is JF. Senate Bill 241, an act concerning oversight and transparency at the Connecticut Port Authority. The action is a JFR to the Appropriations Committee. Senate Bill 866, an act concerning the Connecticut Port Authority. The action is JF to the floor. And Senate Bill number 605, an act concerning the Port Authority. The action is a JF to the floor. Senator Haskell.
JF as amended to the floor.
JF as amended to the floor. Thank you.
Senator Haskell votes yes.
Representative Lamar.
Representative Lamar votes yes.
Representative, could you try that one more time? I didn't see you on my camera.
Representative Lamar votes yes.
Thank you. Look forward to those cannolis. Senator Casano. Representative Sims.
Representative Sims votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. Representative Carney.
Representative Carney votes yes.
Senator Summers.
Senator Summers votes yes.
Thank you. Senator Doherty Abrams.
Senator Darty Abrams votes yes.
Thank you. Senator Lopes.
Senator Lopes votes yes.
Thank you. Senator Needleman.
Senator Needleman votes yes.
Thank you. Senator Austin.
Senator Austin votes in the affirmative.
Senator Kissel. Senator Martin.
Senator Martin votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Berger Giavallo.
Representative Berger Giavallo votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Blumenthal. Representative Chafee. Representative Concepcion.
Representative Concepcion votes yes.
Representative Conley.
Representative Conley votes yes.
Representative Conley, could you try that one more time for me?
Representative Conley votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Goupil.
Representative Goupil votes yes.
Thank you. Representative McCarthy Vahey.
Representative McCarthy Vahey votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Meskers.
Representative Meskers votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Michelle.
Representative Michelle votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Morandella.
Representative Morinvello votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Reyes.
Representative Reyes votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. Representative Rosario. Representative Smith.
Representative Smith votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Steinberg. Representative Thomas.
Rep. Thomas votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Dauphiné. Representative Devlin.
Representative Devlin votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Haynes.
Representative Haynes votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Harrison.
Representative Harrison votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Labriola.
Representative Labriola votes yes.
Thank you. Representative O'Day.
Representative O'Day votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Rabimbus.
Representative Rabimbus votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Zawistowski.
Representative Zawistowski votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Zupkis.
Representative Zupkis votes yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, we have called the roll on our consent calendar. And I believe that is on all actionable items on our agenda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. Just two things I'd like to say before this meeting stands in recess until 4 p.m. Well, one of the things I was going to say is that this meeting will stand in recess until 4 p.m. So please don't forget to cast your votes or text your colleagues who are stuck in another meeting at the moment. And the second, before I hand it over to Representative Lamar, is just to say a very personal thank you to our nonpartisan staff who have been so patient and so incredibly helpful as I try to learn the ropes in this new position on this committee. So Representative Lamar is going to thank them as well, but I did just want to add my 2 cents and say how grateful I am to work with all of them and looking forward to all the work that lies ahead. Thank you all. Representative Lamar.
Thank you, Chairman Haskell, and thank you for joining us and adding a lot of knowledge and passion and thought to this committee. And I really appreciate you joining us and then us having a good relationship working forward. There's a lot of work in transportation this committee will see with bills being referred to us from other committees. We generally see a handful or so of transportation related bills that come from all corners of the building towards us. And so we'll be reviewing those in the coming days and weeks. And I want to say thank you to each and every one of you who saw a lot of emotional testimony this year, whether it was the first public hearing that anyone had in this building, where we heard from a lot of folks who were impacted with pedestrian fatalities on our roadways, to the powerful testimony we had with respect to regulating ice cream trucks and the need to do so. There was a lot of work that happened behind the scenes from our committee staff and committee members, accommodating 4 public hearings and 5 committee meetings. And I want to give a real sincere thanks first to our assistant clerks, Justin Kaiser and Ian Bond, for helping us get through over these last few months, for being part of the team that had, again, the first public hearing in the building this year. We were the first committee to test out the voting by roll with cameras and everyone being present on screen. And we had that wonderful experience of having the first public hearing so other committees could learn from our mistakes and our successes, frankly. And we owe a lot of that to Justin and Ian for helping us through and navigating so much of that process. We are served by incredible legislative liaisons in the agencies that we have oversight over. Ann Kleza and Pam Staccato at the Department of Transportation, Millie Torres with DMV, Alex Peterson with the Connecticut Airport Authority are always available to this committee when we have questions or concerns or thoughts about different items, and they will always be available to committee members. So if you have any questions or concerns for any of those agencies as we move forward, they'll be reaching out to you, and you should certainly reach out to them. We were joined in Office of Fiscal Analysis by Patrick Mellon, who came on late as well. And Patrick has been quiet so far, but he'll get the hang and start jumping in with a lot of suggestions in our screening meetings, and we're glad to have him giving us the guidance that we need from OFA and a number of our proposals. And then in the House Democratic Office, we were joined by Taylor Thorpe as our policy analyst, who replaced Diana Palmer, both of which I've had a good opportunity to work with and get a sense for their style, and hopefully they'll be part of our team moving forward as well. I know the Senate Democratic Office has Manny Marasotis, who we rely on in this committee. We always have for a number of years. His breadth of knowledge and passion has helped guide us on a number of issues and providing both historical reference and the policy concerns of the caucus, and I greatly appreciate it. And then last, I want to highlight 3 specific individuals who form sort of the core of the team. Heather Poole and George Miles in OLR, who I rely on, and Senator Haskell and everyone in screening relies on so heavily for so much of what we do, to help inform us of where we're going and how we can get there, and the best way to work through the proposals that we receive in our committee and truly understand the policy implications of every piece of word that we put on paper and every proposal that we put before this committee. Everything Senator Haskell or I ask you to vote for, we rely on Heather and George to ensure that we've got a full and complete understanding. So the words like unintended consequences don't get issued often in this committee, because Heather and George have made sure we understand everything that comes before us. And our our committee attorney, Katrina Stratton, who I rely on so much to help us work through so many proposals that come before us. They have to be drafted into legal language. We have to make sure that everything we're doing is according to state statute. And Katrina does that, but she does so much more than that, and providing opportunities and understanding of ways we can do things differently, ways that we can do things smarter, ways that we can understand these issues and attack them in a more substantial, creative, legal way. And I just want to say thank you, Katrina, Attorney Stratton, for everything you provide to this committee. And last but not least, Phil Maniero, who serves as the clerk of this committee and serves as a sort of confidant to everyone in screening about what's going on, but a great asset to any committee. He's become sort of the clerk other clerks turn to on a number of issues, and I think everyone here understands why. He is extraordinary in so many ways that go unnoticed, both publicly and for folks in the committee process. And I owe you personally an incredible debt of gratitude, and I'm thankful to have you here in transportation. I am certainly blessed with an incredible team that has made the challenge of these last few months very, very doable, and I appreciate it fully. And then finally, thank you to our ranking members, Representative Carney and Senator Summers. I think we've done what we always do in transportation, have a very cohesive, close working relationship. There are issues where we disagree. There'll be votes, where we don't always see eye to eye, but there's a trust between us that we're always heading in the same direction, that we know where we're going, that we can sort of rely on each other. And I appreciate the advice, the counsel, the work, the time you've put in. Specifically Representative Carney, as a ranking member in transportation, you are a third co-chair, and I greatly appreciate all of the time and effort you've put in this year. Thank you all. So with that, Senator Haskell, I would say thank you to the rest of the committee.
Thank you so much, Representative Lamar, and I hope you all have a great weekend. This committee will stand in recess until, Representative Rosario has his hand raised. Is that to cast your vote?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, I will just close by saying this committee will stand in recess until—
Senator Haskell.
Yes.
Senator Haskell, I believe Representative Carney would like to thank a few people as
Of
well.
course. Representative Carney, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, and thank you both. First, I'd like to start out by thanking you, Senator Haskell, Representative Lamar, Senator Cassano, and Senator Summers. On a lot of committees, not every committee, but on some committees, there's incredible disagreement between folks on the Democrat side of the aisle and the Republican side of the aisle. The working relationships aren't always spectacular, but I think on this committee, that's not the case. We all work very well together. If you look at the vote tally sheets, I would say probably nearly all of the bills, with the exception of a couple, I think we're unanimous. And I think that just speaks to like what Representative Lamar was saying about the trust we have amongst each other and our working relationship, that we're able to get bills to a place that are workable to both of our caucuses, and we'll continue to work on them as the session goes along. This is my 7th year on this committee. When I first got elected, transportation was like the big thing I wanted to work on. So I'm really thrilled to have been on this committee. It's the only committee I've been on the entire time I've been a state rep. And there's a reason for that, because it really is a great committee to be on. I do want to thank a few people from the Republican side of the aisle, sort of my right-hand person who helps me with bill notes, talking about bills. That's Ben Barecki. He's done a tremendous job. Ben had some pretty big shoes to fill with Chris Adams getting promoted to actually our caucus attorney, but he was a lead on transportation back when I was ranking member before, and Ben's done a tremendous job. I'm not going to say his last name, but Chris Zav, I'm not going to say his full last name, I will butcher it, has done a tremendous job as well for the Senate Republicans. And then we also have Greg Hannon from the House Republicans, who's done a great job, and Assistant Clerk Ian Bond. In terms of other staff, Patrick from OFA, of course, Roland summed it up perfectly. I mean, where would we be without Katrina, Heather, and George? I mean, they are just a tremendous help to all of us with drafting bills, with understanding the process, and they are just so professional and do an incredible job. We are so lucky as a committee to have the three of them working with us. And of course, Phil Maniero has done a tremendous job. He was the clerk before when I was on, and I'm glad he's still there now. Just does a great job making sure everything's up and running. I know it's been different this year because of COVID, and we're stuck on Zoom all the time, and he's just done a really, really good job. And I think we still were the first committee that had a public hearing, right? So he kind of set everything in motion for that. So again, and again, happy birthday, Phil. And thanks for all you do. But I'm looking forward to continuing these conversations as session goes along. And I hope everyone has a great weekend and a great rest of session.
Thank you so much, Representative Carney. I can only second what you and Representative Lamar said and express my thanks to the committee members. At this point, I'll remind folks that the meeting will be held in recess until 4 p.m. So please do check in with our fantastic clerk to cast your votes. And have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you so much.
Take care, everyone.
Hello. Hey, Phil.
Representative Rosario, how are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
Very good, thank you. I think I'm just missing one vote from you. I'm missing 2 votes. The first vote is on an individual bill, and the second is on our consent calendar. The first bill is House Bill number 6570, an act concerning transit-oriented development and municipal zoning. The action is a JFS to the floor on LCO number 5765.
I'd like to vote in the affirmative.
Thank you. And then the next vote is the vote on our consent calendar containing items on our agenda 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
I would also like to vote on the affirmative on the consent calendar.
Representative, and I believe with that, I have your 3 votes logged, and you are all set for the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Take care. Let's see, I just see Representative Zawistowski. If you can hear me, I think I'm missing just 1 vote from you.
Yes, which one is that?
I have no vote for you on House Bill 6570, an act concerning transit-oriented development and municipal zoning. The action is a JFS to the floor, LCO number 5765.
Yeah, actually, I did vote on that, and it is in the negative.
In the negative, thank you. I'm sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Phil, my apologies for interrupting. I just wanted to confirm if I missed anything. I don't believe I did.
No problem, Representative. I have you logged on the consent calendar vote, the vote on item number 1 on our agenda, and the vote on item number 4. That should be 6 items. You should be all set.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You as well. I see Representative Blumenthal. I see you with your hand up. and you happen to be next on my list. If you don't mind, I will just go down the items as they were posted on the agenda. If you could turn your camera on for me, perfect, see you there. The first is House Bill number 6486, Act concerning automated driving system equipped vehicles. The action is a JFS to the floor on LCO number 6074. Representative Blumenthal.
Sorry, is that part of the consent calendar or is that an independent vote?
No, this is the independent bill. It's item number 1 on our agenda.
Okay, so I vote in the affirmative on that bill.
Thank you. The next bill is an individual bill. It's item number 4 on our agenda. It is House Bill 6570, an act concerning transit-oriented development and municipal zoning. The action is a JFS with LCO number 5765.
I vote in the affirmative on that bill.
Thank you. And then the final item is a vote on our consent calendar containing items 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8 on our agenda.
I vote in the affirmative.
Thank you very much. And with that, that is all of the meeting, and we should be all set. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Phil. Happy belated birthday and have a good weekend.
Thank you very much. I see you right there at the top of my screen. I think I am just missing one vote for you. It's a vote, I'm sorry, a vote on House Bill 6570, an act concerning transit-oriented development and municipal zoning. The action is a JFS to the floor on LCO number 5765. Senator Summers, can you hear me?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
No problem. I just need one last vote from you. It's a vote on House Bill number 6570, an act concerning transit-oriented development and municipal zoning. The action is a JFS with LCO number 5765.
Okay, Senator Summers votes no.
Thank you very much. And with that, Senator, I believe I have your vote on all the actionable items. Yes, consent calendar and the 2 individual bills. You are all set. Representative Michelle and Representative McCarthy.
Madam Administrator, should go without saying, but I'll say it. We'll be open for another hour after we're done with our deliberations.
Somebody, if they could just mute very quickly.
Hi, Phil. I was just curious, did I miss any vote? I wasn't clear to me maybe at the beginning of the meeting. I was kind of on and off.
Represented by Michelle, I have you logged on all 3 votes, the consent calendar and the 2 individuals. You should be all set.
Okay, good.
Representative McCarthy-Vahey, I do need your vote on the 2 individual bills. And Senator Abrams, I also need your vote on those 2 individual bills. If that works, I'll just kind of go down the agenda order. The first is House Bill number 6486. It's an act concerning automated driving system equipped vehicles. The action is JFS to the floor on LCO number 6074. Senator Abrams, if you could turn on your camera for me. Senator Needleman, can you hear me? Representative McCarthy-Vahey?
Representative McCarthy-Vahey votes yes.
Thank you very much. And Representative, while I have you on camera, I think I just need one more vote from you. It's a vote on House Bill number 6570, an act concerning transit-oriented development and municipal zoning. The action is a JFS on LCO number 5765.
Representative McCarthy-Vahey votes yes.
Thank you very much, Representative. And with that, I believe you are all set for today.
Hello, sir.
Representative Chippy, how are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Very good, thank you. I believe I need your vote on 3 items today. The first 2 are individual bill votes, and the third item is our consent calendar.
Hello.
The first item is House Bill number 6486, an act concerning automated driving system equipped vehicles. The action is a JFS to the floor, and it's on LCO number 6-074. If you could just turn your camera on to cast your vote.
Sure. Do I need to be maskless or is this fine?
I think if you just lower it quickly so I can identify you, that will. Thank you, Representative.
Representative Chafee votes in the affirmative.
Thank you very much. And I'll just go right to the next two items while I have you. The next is a JFS vote on House Bill 6570, an act concerning transit-oriented development and municipal zoning. It's a JFS on LCO number 5765.
Representative Chafee votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. And the last item is our consent calendar. Would you like the bills read or would you like to vote?
It's just the remaining bills that were on the agenda.
That is correct.
Yeah, I am fine with that. I vote in the affirmative for the consent calendar.
Thank you very much. You are all set for the day. And I see.
All right. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Have a good evening.
Needleman, you as well. Senator Needleman, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Senator. I believe I'm missing your votes on just two items, just the individual bills. So the first item on our agenda. It's House Bill number 6486, an act concerning automated driving system equipped vehicles. The action is a JFS to the floor on LCO number 6074. Senator Needleman.
Needleman, yes.
Thank you. The next item on our for you to vote is item number 4 on our agenda. It's House Bill number 6570, an act concerning transit-oriented development and municipal zoning. The action is a JFS to the floor on LCO number 5765. Senator Needleman.
How did that vote go, Phil?
So far, I believe there are about 10 votes against and approximately 24, 23 votes for.
Needleman, yes.
Thank you. And with that, Senator, I believe you voted on all items and you're all set for the day.
That's it for the, we're done, right?
Yes, this should be the final meeting of the Transportation Committee. If any bills are referred to us after our deadline, I believe we will have to meet on those. So there'll be some meetings.
Great. Hi, Senator Abrams.
Hi, Senator Needleman. It's always good to see you.
Same here.
I'm still in our committee meeting that started at 9, but I'm taking a break to vote.
There you go.
Well, Senator Abrams, while I have you on camera, I'll just get two quick.
Yeah.
First is item number 1 on our agenda, a vote on House Bill number 6486, an act concerning automated driving system. The action is a JFS on LCO number 6074.
Representative Scanlon.
Senator Darty Abrams votes yes.
Thank you very much. The next item is item number 4 on our agenda. House Bill number 6570, transit-oriented development and municipal zoning.
11.
JFS on LCO number 5765.
An act concerning safe.
Senator Darty Abrams votes yes.
Thank you very much, Senator. And with that, I believe yes, you have voted on all actual items and you're all set for today.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Hope you had a great birthday.
Thank you, I did.
Representative Feinberg, before you go on, who offered the first motion?
I don't know.
Phil, you still on the system?
Yes, Representative.
I don't think I missed any votes, no?
Representative, I have you on 6486. I have you on 6570, and I have you on the consent calendar. You voted on all actionable items.
What was the vote on the transportation, basically train station bill?
6570, transit-oriented development.
Okay.
Give me just a moment, I believe. I believe currently the vote is 20 yes votes with 12 no votes, and a few members have yet to cast their vote.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Very welcome.
And I am leaving.
Representative Steinberg, how are
So nice to see you as well. I am ready and able to vote on the bills before us.
Excellent, Representative. I have 3 votes for you to take. The first 2 will be individual votes, and the last will be a consent calendar containing the remainder of the votes from the agenda. The first is a JFS vote on agenda item number 1, House Bill number 6486, an act concerning automated driving system equipped vehicles. The action is JFS to the floor on LCO number 6074.
Representative Steinberg votes yes.
Thank you. The next item is House Bill number 6570. Again, the action is a JFS to the floor. The LCO number is 67. I'm sorry. The LCO number is 5765. The bill is House Bill number 6570, an act concerning transit-oriented development and municipal zoning.
Representative Steinberg votes no.
Thank you, Representative. And the final item is our consent calendar containing all the remaining bills from our agenda.
I certainly would vote in the affirmative. Representative Steinberg votes yes to the consent calendar.
Thank you very much, Representative. And with that, you are all set for today.
Thank you for your help today. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, you as well. Representative Dauphiné, I see you've joined. Can you hear me?
Hi, Phil, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I got a lot of action going on here today.
Oh,
Yeah,
certainly. So we have, I just believe I'm missing your vote on, I'm missing 3 votes for you. The first 2, again, as with Representative Steinberg, are individual votes, and the third will be the consent calendar. The first is item number 1 on our agenda, House Bill number 6486, an act concerning automated driving system equipped vehicles. The action is JFS to the floor on LPO number 6074.
Rep. Dauphiné votes no.
Thank you. And the next item is item number 4 on our agenda, House Bill number 6570, an act concerning transit-oriented development in municipal zoning. The action is a JFS on LCO number 5765.
Rep. Dauphiné votes no.
Thank you very much. And the final item, Representative Dauphiné, is our consent calendar containing the remaining items on our agenda.
Rep. Dauphiné votes yes.
Thank you very much, Representative, and you are all set for today.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, you as well. See, Senator, can you see me? Get you this. Okay. Oh, perfect. Got you right there. So Senator, I'll just go down the items in bill order. The first is House Bill 6486, an act concerning automated driving system equipped vehicles. It's LCO 6074. Senator, could you just nod for me? My audio is a little tricky. Was that a vote in the affirmative? Thank you. And the next bill we have is House Bill 6570, an act concerning transit-oriented development and municipal zoning. The action is JFS on LCO 5765. I'm sorry, Senator, the audio is going a little out. Let me see if I can send you one thing as well. Let's see if I can get you on audio as well, now that I have you on video. Okay, Senator, I think I can hear you and see you now.
All right, good. Steve yes.
Perfect, thank you very much. And then one last vote on our consent calendar, which is the remaining items on our agenda.
Steve votes yes.
Thank you very much, Senator.
You got it all?
Yes, I have you as a yes vote on all three items.
Okay, you got it. Thanks very much. Appreciate your help.
Very welcome. Have a good day. seeing 4 o'clock on the calendar in accordance with the actions of the chair. I believe this meeting is now fully over. Thank you very much, everyone.